Hey everyone, good Monday, 8:04 here as we take a live look over from our tower cam. So far, so good here in Kansas City. We have the storm risk that we're going to be updating you on as we go through this. I've got the Facebook stream up. If you have questions or comments, you can shoot them to me there. We're going to go through this probably a time or two, and then we're going to regroup, get ready for our 10 o'clock newscast. So thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris here in the First Warn 5 Weather Center. We've got Melissa Meter here. We've got Warren Sears. We're all ready to go. If these storms will be a threat for tonight, they may be. We've got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and dive on in and see what we're working with. All right, so currently we do have several, if you look to the west, you can see these little boxes, several warnings just to the west of Kansas City. Really, they're west of Lawrence. Severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. The orange boxes that you see, though, that's a tornado watch. That goes until 11 o'clock. We expect that to be rather soon expanded to the east. Now, the reason why we say that is because the National Weather Service is monitoring this, and they said 95% chance that that tornado watch is within the next hour or two, that'd be before the 10 o'clock newscast, is going to be expanded to include the KC coverage area or the KC metro and probably some areas to the east and to the south. I think there's a good chance that a lot of us will be in a tornado watch within the next couple hours or so. At the moment, we're not. There are some questions that I'll go through. I see everybody, you're wanting to know about your spot, your area, Olathe and Kansas. Kansas, you'd be the first to get it. It hit the Kansas side first. Belton, Merriam, all you guys. Kansas City, what are we going to get? Kansas City, Kansas. Let's see. Okay, so first, before we get there, let's look at the risk level here. Really, it's about wind. There is a wind. There's also a tornado risk. That's why we are going to have a tornado watch most likely. But straight line winds might be the big one here. They could potentially, with this setup, go 70 or 80 miles per hour in pockets. Not everybody would get that, but in some of the strongest cells, the strongest storms could produce in small areas hurricane force winds. And that's something to be thinking about as we go through tonight. Also could have some hail, but these aren't going to be big hailers for us. I don't think they're big hail makers. They're kind of fast. It ought to be a fast and hard hit rather than these hail monsters that you can get that sometimes are more isolated and by themselves and moving more slowly. There is a brief tornado risk. This kind of setup is not long track, super powerful type tornadoes, but what it is erratic tornado development along a line of storms, and in kinks in this line, you can get these little spin ups, and they tend to drop quickly and then they lift quickly. So you don't get a lot of lead time. They don't tend to be super powerful, but you don't have a whole lot of lead time before they come. So that's the risk level there. Let's look at the other risk level, and the reason why we expect this to be expanded eastward with the tornado watch is there's an outbreak ongoing today in Kansas. Nebraska had some, and especially in Oklahoma. So everybody that can see this that's in the KCTV 5 coverage area, is under this level 3 out of 5 risk. That's an enhanced risk, and what that means is that numerous severe thunderstorms are expected. And with that, again, the hail and the tornado risk, brief tornadoes, but it's actually a little bit higher here in Garnett and Lacine. That's a level 4 out of 5. So we'd be looking at Lynn County, Kansas, and Anderson County, Kansas, some of those spots. And then look at that, it's a level 5 out of 5 at the top of the scale from just south of Wichita all the way down to Oklahoma City for a nighttime powerful tornado threat. All right, so you don't see these very often. This is about once per year on average that you get a top level risk. It's not for Kansas City, but to our south it is. So that's why we're saying tornado outbreak. So I'll share this with you. This is kind of a scenarios graphic. What is the greatest possible event here, and what is the worst case scenario? What should you be prepared for? It's possible that we get hurricane force wind gusts in some spots. With that would come power outages and down trees. Is that a forecast? No, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying if that does happen, which is possible tonight, we would have power outages. We've had down trees, and be thinking about that, because if you lose power, you still want to have a way to track the storms. So, and you'd want to have a way to get warnings. And, if you've got down trees, I've got kids at home, and, we would treat a severe thunderstorm warning if it had 75-mile-per-hour winds in it like a tornado warning, because if you get a tree that goes down on the house, could go on the kids' room, get them down to the basement. My wife and I have already talked about that. Most likely, though, a lot of us won't see that level of severe winds. In fact, I'd say that's not going to happen. But most likely, what we'll have are these areas of strong to severe winds, 40 to 60 miles per hour. We get those somewhat regularly. There's a pretty good chance that you could see that in any location tonight. There's a decent chance. Not everybody will see that, though. Some of us will fall in the gaps between the storms if the storms form. There is an if here, and I'll show you. But the best case scenario would be the gap between the strong storms. That's where you fall and you get moderate rain, you get lightning, no big deal. Let's look at the rain chances. And they peak at about 10 for the metro is going to be our best, 10, 11, give or take, something like that. And then for the worst of it, it'll still rain and we'll have some thunder after this main line comes through. And then after about 4 o'clock in the morning, these will be out. Will be much, much better tomorrow. So let's go to the radar and work that. And I want to highlight why we have some questions. So there's a gap. You see this gap between two areas of storms. I'll kind of highlight some areas, and then we're going to look at some of these warnings. Right here. All right. Nothing going on there. Hardly anything right now. And these storms are going this way and this way. And look at that. Look at that. Could we fall in a gap in Kansas City between these two lines of storms? It's possible. It's possible that in the metro we don't get a whole lot out of it. But what we're waiting on is a little unusual, and that is, we're looking at a nighttime event. Something happens at night where you get these strong winds at about a mile above the ground, and it's called the low-level jet, and that can fan these storms and cause them to grow, and you get more of them, and they kind of expand into one big line. Will that happen? We will see. It is not a guarantee. But we do have these other areas that are forming and are moving our way. So there's a tornado warning just northeast of Manhattan. There's another one just southwest of Manhattan. You can see a couple storms there. So these are going to be on a track more toward Holt County, Maryville, Falls City, something like that. Probably more toward Nebraska and Falls City, just the way that they're tracking. But that line would pose a threat to northwest Missouri. Let's go down here by these little cells that are popping up. This is interesting because we didn't have much, 45 minutes ago. Now starting to see some storms go over here by Ottawa. Not severe, just regular storms. The track with those would be toward the metro, generally in that general area. And then this other one down here, this is a quickly exploding line that is south of Emporia, and that would be more of a threat toward probably down here in Garnett, Lacine, some spots like that. So if you just kind of pull the view back out again, a lot of these are moving north-northeast. Let's get kind of some arrows going here. This line's kind of going like this. We've got that little clump right there, and then this gap, and then this other line right here that's generally moving this way. So that's how it looks right now. And the question again is, how much are these going to blow up in the next hour or so, hour or two? Here's a closer look. First 1.5 Doppler. So far, we've been good in KC. Over here, this is these little clumps by Lawrence. We'll see what these do. Right now, no big deal. Let's get to the tracker, forecast track, and see what these look like. So within about 45 minutes, an hour, something like that, this is what the computer forecasts are putting on. So there's this is actually 9 o'clock. It's 8:55. It says 8. But that's just to the west. Will that happen? They better get on their pony and ride if the storms are going to get that organized that quickly. Here's 10 o'clock, and that's a strong line of storms coming through the metro, St. Joe and Maryville and Harrisonville. And what you would see is the worst part of this would be right at the leading edge. That's where you'd have those really strong winds, at least the potential for them. And these little kinks, I can't draw on this one, but if you see where this line of storms has got these little kinks in it, and then it kind of bows back out and then a little kink, that's where you could get some quick spin-up tornadoes. And then I'll take you in past about 11. There's midnight. And now it's more toward Chillicothe, Richmond, Warrensburg, Sedalia, Warsaw. It'd be getting up on you by about midnight, 1 o'clock. There you can see it there. All right, so Marshall, Chillicothe, probably just past you. This is by midnight. It's a fast-moving line. It's hard hit, in and out. And then we get to 3 o'clock in the morning. This thing's out of here. And then by tomorrow's great. Tomorrow, we have a beautiful day lined up tomorrow. So let's go back through this. This is a very important graphic to try to help time it out. So Atchison, I just got a question about Atchison. Yeah, you've got some storms that are in to your southwest within the next hour or so, could be a risk for you. So here's forecast track. This is 9 o'clock. A general line of storms trying to march eastward. There's 10. So the further west that you are, the sooner that you would see them, if it is indeed a line, and we don't have any breaks in it, which is an if. Now we're at 10, and by about 10, should be near or over Kansas City and points north and south, so Maryville and St. Joe and Lacine. And then one more time as we go to 11 and midnight. Now we're looking at Richmond and Bethany, Clinton. We'd still have some rain on the backside after the main hard hit. That'd be the severe portion. So by midnight, it may still be thundering in Kansas City. And then there we get past 2, 3 o'clock, and it's on out of here. I don't see a big flood threat here. This will be in and out rather quickly. It's going to be heavy rain, but kind of brief, so a ½ inch to an inch. So not a big risk there. Here's your hourly planner for tomorrow. All right. Looks good. Tomorrow looks good. We'll be much happier tomorrow. 50s in the morning, sunshine in the afternoon, and 70s. We get to Wednesday. Wednesday has a risk, but it's southeast of Kansas City. But if you're in Sedalia or Warsaw or Clinton or Marshall, southeast of a line essentially along I-35, you could have some afternoon storms that could be strong. Hail, high wind, there could be a tornado risk there, and be clearing by the evening. That's the threat there. Quick look at your 7-day, then I'll scan some of the questions and comments on Facebook, see if I missed anything. 7-day actually looks pretty good. After today for the metro and after Wednesday for the area, we're good. Only a 30% chance for showers on Wednesday for the metro. It's higher south and east. Thursday, 60s, cooler behind the front. Friday, dry, 60s. Weekend, looks good. Just a low rain chance on Saturday, mid-70s and sunshine on Sunday. Mother's Day, there you go. It's going to be all right. So I'll go back up to the top, and we will see if we have any questions here. What about Grandview? Everybody, I've got so many towns here that everybody is wanting to hit. If you can, just kind of look at your area as I go through the maps. I can't hit all these towns, but if you go back to the maps and kind of pick out your spot, then you might get a pretty good idea. So I'll do that here in just a second. Why is one radar showing coming up from the southwest and the other shows out of the west? Yeah, well, these two I think it's forecast radar. This is a question about this. Why are these storms here? Let it load up. There you go. These are moving. You can see the movement with the two different lines, but once this turns into a line, the whole line the cells will still be moving to the north and east, the individual cells. It's very easy to spot here, but if this does turn into one solid line, which it may or may not, we will see, then the whole line would move eastward, and that's what you're seeing on forecast track. Okay, any more rain this week? Yeah, tonight and Wednesday maybe. You think the wind will be bad in Belton? My house got roof damage from the last storm. Austin, I hate to hear that. It could be. Nobody can say, we can't predict where the severe weather will be until it's forming and you've got a warning. So as far as like forecasting that, nobody can do that. We wish that we could. It's a possibility. It's a risk that you could have some strong winds anywhere in our coverage area tonight. So let's go back through it. And if you've got a question about your spot, try to look at the maps and see if that helps you. So this is the current, as it stands right now, tornado watch. Does not include Kansas City and anybody that's in gray on here. It's really just our western counties in our coverage area. That's Atchison, that's Holt, that's Douglas, Franklin, Anderson. We do have some warnings out there. You see the little boxes. That goes until 11, but this won't hold. Within the next hour or two, we'll likely see a tornado watch that covers everybody. Anybody that's within the KCTV 5 coverage area, that would include the metro most likely. So that'll probably be out before the 10 o'clock newscast. The reason is the risk level is still high for everybody. The main highest threat here is going to be high wind gusts. It's a main straight line wind kind of setup here, and they could be 70 to 80 miles per hour. That's hurricane force. Could have a little hail. Hail doesn't seem like a big threat, and these brief tornadoes that can be erratic. They just kind of pop up, they drop down, they lift right back up. They don't last that long. They don't tend to be super powerful, but you also don't get a whole lot of time before they come down. So warning lead times there tend to drop. The other thing is we still have, even though the watch is not current and for Kansas City, the tornado watch, the reason why we think it'll spread eastward is the risk level is still there. The atmosphere is still capable of bringing powerful storms across the area. So everybody's under this level 3 out of 5 risk, and then even a level 4 down here in Garnett and Lacine. That's that red shade that you see. And then there's the level 5, all right? It's from Oklahoma City up through northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas. A very rare, about once per year somewhere in the country, we get this level of risk. It's a severe weather outbreak. So the storm timing, this is really for Kansas City, is this. We're going to be looking at about 10, give or take. 10, 11 o'clock, something like that for us. For the main line to come through, that'd be the severe portion, and then after that, it could still get some rain and some thunder, and then it moves out, and then we're done by about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. But not everybody has that same timeline So I'll show you the forecast track in a second, and you can pick out your neighborhood. Let's look at the radar right now. May as well not sleep. Yeah, this is a thing where, there's a chance that we have strong storms overnight, and while a lot of us are sleeping, you'd want to have a way to be alerted and get warnings. And even don't just think about tornadoes on a night like this. Think about that high wind threat, the straight line winds. If it's hurricane force, 75 miles per hour, just pop, that can cause tornado-like damage. And I'm thinking about trees going down. And if that were to fall on your house, I've got kids at home, and if it were to go in their room, something to think about if you have one of those high-end severe thunderstorm warnings where we're on TV saying, it's got 75-mile-per-hour winds in it. Treat that like a tornado warning tonight. But it's a good idea to charge your devices, make sure that they're ready to rock, and have a way to track the storms. First Warn 5 weather app can do that for you, give you the warnings too, and just make sure that if you're going to go to bed, you've got a way to be alerted. So there's this gap right here between these two lines of storms, and we're waiting to see if these are going to connect into one. There hasn't been much out here, but they're starting to flare up a little bit just west of Kansas City. And what's happening here is the wind's about a mile above the ground. It's what we call a low-level jet. It's cranking up, and that's fanning these things. And how much are these two lines going to come together? Will they come together? That's what we're monitoring right now, but they may. And even if they don't come together and form one big, stout, solid line, which is the way it's been looking, then where these clusters go will be severe or have the threat to be severe. So let's look closer. Zoom back in on our First Warn 5 Doppler. Starting to get some storms over here, not severe, but Tonganoxie just around your area. There's Lawrence right there, little thunderstorm coming through in Ottawa. These things are starting to go. So this little batch right here that's coming in out of southeastern Kansas is going to make a run toward, we'll be looking at Franklin and Anderson counties here in Kansas, maybe up toward Douglas County. It's kind of on that B line. So see how strong that one goes. Monitoring that, and then this threat up here too. Let's get the warnings on. So this one's had a history of producing tornadoes. This is over by Wheaton in northeast Kansas. That one might get up here into Holt County. And you can see down here, this other area, just west of Independence, it's got a history of producing severe weather there too. So that's what's it's going. It's starting to get going. Now let's go to the forecast track and work your way through tonight. So this computer forecast trying to say here within about an hour, we've got this big line that's just west of Lawrence and Ottawa and Garnett. Seems like that's kind of a tall order. Maybe, but more likely it's going to take a little longer than that, but we might. And you can see what they're putting out here. This is by about 10. This is going to be our best shot in the metro for that severe weather potential. And then once we get past that, we're into 11 and midnight. Line is in and out, quick, hard hit. That's toward Richmond and Odessa, so that's midnight, east of the metro. And then the last would be like Warsaw, Marshall, Sedalia, Chillicothe, and that'd be by about midnight, 1 o'clock. And then it's all on out of here after about, we'll say 2, 3 o'clock. And another look at the rain. We had all that flooding from the last round where it just got tremendous amounts of rain. Some of you saw 10 inches of rain in just a few days. This one's not like that because it's so fast moving, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. That's all that we get there. There is another risk on Wednesday. Tomorrow's fine. Here's another risk on Wednesday. It's not for the metro. It's more for those of you that are south and east. I'm looking at like Sedalia and Clinton and Marshall where we could have some afternoon storms there. Could have another tornado watch there. And then your 7-day. And then I'll try to answer a couple questions. And then we're going to start getting ready for the 10. We got the 10 o'clock newscast. Here's your 7-day. Good looking weather after today for Kansas City. 77 on Tuesday, low rain chance. Wednesday, maybe some showers, but most of it, again, is south and east. That's why we have the first warn on Wednesday is that severe risk for Sedalia, Marshall, Warrensburg, some of those spots. And then Thursday, cooler, upper 60s. Carry that through Friday. Friday looks good. Sunshine, upper 60s, and your weekend looks good. 70s and generally dry, especially Mother's Day. Okay, are we going to get a watch in Clay County? Yes, probably. 95% confidence in Clay County within the next hour, hour and a half. Let's see what else we have. Good evening, Dakota. Nighttime storms are the worst. I agree because, one, a lot of us are sleeping, and there's the added danger of everybody's in the house and not aware, not alert, so have a way to get warnings tonight. And not everybody's going to see severe weather, It's just in pockets that this is possible. Got our dogs ready, got our stuff ready to go. Is it going to miss us? It may. Charlie's asking a question, is it going to miss us? I'll get back to the radar. And by it, we're going to have storms around, but the severe part is the question. So as we look back at this is really critical. This is something we are watching super closely. See how these storms right here are getting going? Right there. Is this gap between these two lines, is that going to fill in? We'll see. It's trying. Let's see what else. What else do we have? And if it doesn't fill in, then we would, and we're in between those two stronger clusters, then yeah, we could miss severe weather. Okay, what else do we have? Olathe, yeah, you've got the chance for strong storms. Everybody that's watching does. What else do we have? Lawn chairs. Got our lawn chairs out, ready to go watch the storms go by. All right. Hope they weaken. Storm anxiety, no doubt. This has been a long season. We've had a lot of risks. Not necessarily much in the metro. It's been north and south. We've fallen in the gaps in the metro a couple times here lately. So will it happen again? We'll see. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I think that's most of the questions. All right, everybody. Well, with that, what is the tornado threat for Liberty? More of a wind threat. Yeah, I'd say it's more of a wind threat for anybody. We're going to have a tornado watch. Expect that. And that does include Liberty. 95% chance of that. But within that, what that means is we may have, we have a tornado risk. And whenever you have a tornado risk, you'll get a tornado watch. But still, I'd say the primary threat, what more of us would deal with, and what would likely be looking back, if we're trying to project ahead and say, looking back, which of these hail, wind, or tornadoes cause the most damage, I would say that the wind has the highest threat, straight line winds, because if they get going, they could do 70, 80 miles per hour. Brief little tornadoes that drop down, they'll cause some damage wherever they drop, but they just don't tend to be very large. They don't tend to stay very long, where the wind can cover a bigger area, impact more people, and 80 mile per hour winds can cause quite a bit of damage. So, all right, north of Belton was going under a tornado watch. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's see if the watch is updated. Whenever I do these live, I'm not in front. I don't have my all my updates. It's on a different screen that I don't have access to. So let's see if anything updated. Okay. Well, regardless, you're probably going to have one. Baser, Kansas, Blue Springs. Yep, you guys all have storm chances. Strong ones at that. Do we think it will make it to North KC? It probably, you'll have something. Will it be severe is the question, and there's the chance of it there. So that's basically the take-home message, everybody, is we don't know how well this line is going to form into one and how complete it will be. Will there be breaks and big breaks within that don't get really strong storms? It's possible. But it's trying to form right now as we speak into a solid line, and with that, you would have the severe risk across the area because the whole line would want to come through. So it doesn't matter where you are, you would have that chance. And right now it looks like that process is underway. So not everybody will see severe weather. Not everybody's going to see bad weather, but the chance is there, at least in some spots. Where those spots are, nobody can tell you, but along that line, expect some severe weather. So that's the risk level for tonight. We'll see you at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay safe. Have a way to keep the warnings at your disposal and stay informed. It's a night that you want to stay informed. So we'll bring you the updates coming up at 10 o'clock. See you then. Have a good night.